I'm here, I'm live. Today, all my friends have abandoned me. Thanks, Bill and Nathan. Um, so, today, I'm just going to be hanging out making some terrain. So, Bill and I are. I have shaved my head. It's very, very short. Hopefully, like this video, short and sharp. So, Bill and I are going to play through two narrative campaigns. One is going to be Quest of the Ringbearer, and the other is going to be The Scouring of the Shire. Whichever order we pick, we don't know yet. It depends if we can get miniatures, and depends what we can get painted in time. So I'm working on some rocky terrain that's going to be quite generic. It's going to be covered in some flock, and hopefully it's pretty versatile. So what I've got here is some bark chips. I went to my local landscaping supply store, and they were lucky enough to have the kind of bark chips I needed, and it only cost me $5 for a whole giant bag. So what I've done with that is I've glued it down to some ePVC. So this is basically what sign writers and stuff use. This is nothing original. I've stolen all these ideas from tons of other YouTubers and terrain makers. So I've stuck it down with, in some places this is called, what's it called? Gorilla Glue. But essentially it's a polyurethane adhesive. It expands and you can kind of see it in the gaps. It fills up the gaps. But it's a lot better than PVA glue. It's a lot better than hot glue, especially in Australia, because as soon as we hit summer, all your terrain falls apart, which sucks. So I've glued that down, and I have done the next couple of steps. I've undercoated it in like a almost white. It's like a grey, and there's a technique called the leopard spot technique. So I've essentially got some Scrag Brown and some Zamesi Desert, and I've watered it down tons and tons and tons, and I've basically just put splotches of it all over my terrain. This batch here, I was trying to get ahead. This is still not dry, but this batch is basically dry. So essentially what we've done is made the terrain, we've pre-shaded it. So it's a little bit weird looking at the moment, but it's going to work out alright in the end. So Bill's been working on some roads and Shire terrain. That's all looking pretty awesome. So I'm just kind of filling in the gaps. Where's some water? Just filling in the gaps and making some generic terrain. So it's a bit of a team effort on this one. It's good when your team actually pull their weight, Steve, and you know, chip in and do stuff. I mean, I guess Steve did do editing and all that, but it's good to have a hand in the old hobby side of things. So I've just got some Abaddon Black and some water, and I'm just gonna make my own kind of wash. And the trick to the leopard spot technique is you basically put down a yellow and an orange, and you let that dry. My little crappy spray that I used was very non-absorbent. It stopped my paint from soaking in, which is slowing down the whole process. Super annoying, but we're getting there. Do you love my blue tarp because I'm messy? I'm so messy that I had to put down a tarp on my table so that I don't, well, I've already spilled lots of stuff, but I'm very, very messy when it comes to making terrain and painting models. So I've got my old tarp down. I basically started working on this stuff yesterday or a couple of days ago. So you can kind of see how thick my my black wash is going to be. And essentially, we just whack this over all the terrain. I'm probably going to give this 2 coats. Nope, we need more black paint in there. So I've got a... Ugh, already made a mess. Good work. Mr. Smart Donkey is trash talking me in the live chat. How rude. But that's alright, look. I'm glad I look like a famous person. I'm not a football fan, sorry mate. But essentially, we just wash it over, and when it dries, it looks kind of baller. Where's my finished bit? There we are. So it looks baller. I'll get to flocking this later. I don't look like a famous footballer. I'm just messy. I get it. I get it. Sorry, I'm a bit slow on the uptake. I need a sip of coffee. So yeah, we got some exciting things happening. Well, they're exciting for us, and hopefully for you guys. We've got another camera on the way, so we'll be able to do a little bit more interactive filming when we play games. I know Bill's been keen for that, to kind of blend the old school and the new school together. So, oh man, I am making a mess. So that should be good. I know there's a lot of fans of the old school handheld camera style footage that Steve and I started out with when we only had one camera. But man, editing videos sucks. Editing videos really sucks. And so the live stream is a lot more efficient. So what, we've had 4 weeks where we've had videos, continuous videos. Is that like a D6 Fix record? Or is it 5 weeks even? Man, that's crazy. But yeah, really cool. We're pumping out the videos. Hopefully it's content that you guys enjoy watching. But I thought I'd mix it up tonight. Coach and I were going to play, well, Nathan and I were going to play Thorin's Company versus the Fellowship. So I've been playing my Fellowship the last few weeks and getting smashed. And yeah, look, a couple of people have said they reckon that the Fellowship will be better than Thorin's Company at 600 points. I mean, Thorin's Company don't get a Legendary Legion bonus. Do they need it? Maybe. I guess we'll find out. As soon as Coach is available, we'll play that game. Mr. Smart Donkey in the live stream chat said, I reckon Dion would make a killer basketball player. I'm 6'4", so I'm pretty tall, but I'm literally the most uncoordinated person probably in the history of sports. It's not good. It's not good. Just because you're tall doesn't mean you can catch a ball. Unfortunately, I'm more like a distraction. And that's kind of what the way I play my war games as well. Is I just like to distract and tease and make my opponents work for it. But it doesn't always work out like that. So if you took 600 points of Thorin's Company, you'd probably get... I mean, the only double up character you'd have potential for is Gandalf. I would run the Legendary Legion. I would run, if I was running the Fellowship, which means no Gandalf. So, is it a power move to take Gandalf in Thorin's company? Do they even need it? I don't know if they need it. But I think you take Thorin. He's 110 points. My hands are covered in paint now, so I can't look at my book. You take Gloin, obviously. You take Dwalin. So that's like your Aragorn, Boromir, and Gimli. But I think where Thorin's company win out is, I'm getting roasted in the live stream chat. Holy moly. I think Nicole's just in the other room, just roasting me. Apparently I'm a giant, but I've never been seen to effectively use my arms and legs at the same time. And I did fall over a garden bed one time. That's very true. But I am very clumsy. Not the clumsiest person I know. There's a couple of contenders for that, but yeah, look, I am gonna admit that I am pretty clumsy. So you got Thorin, you got Dwalin. I think that's a better combo than Aragorn and Boromir. More killy. We'll come back to killy in a bit. You take Gloin. I think Gloin could be better than Gimli. Thoughts, people? What do you reckon? But then the Hobbits is where you get let down, because in the Fellowship you've got Frodo. You have to take him. You don't have to take Bilbo in Thorin's company, but I think Bilbo is better than Frodo. 2 reasons. One, he's got more than one attack. As I've witnessed in the last couple of weeks playing games, one attack sucks. So I think Bilbo has, he has 2 attacks, but he doesn't suffer any of the downsides to the ring. So that means you don't roll a dice at the start of every turn. Sorry if the sound of the brush is like super annoying. I don't know how well the camera's picking that up, but we got some terrain building ASMR or something happening. But someone has said Gimli would be so good if Legolas was a bit better to get a higher kill tally. Gimli is almost always ahead once they both get into melee combat. 100%. That's why I think that Gloin is just a little bit better, because he doesn't rely on Legolas giving Gimli the buff. So I definitely agree, Mr. Smart Donkey, that yeah, once Gimli's in combat, that's it. He's a blender. And then Legolas, I don't know. As much as I love Legolas, as much as I love the idea of their cool special rule, it's just not worth it. I don't know. Prove me wrong, somebody. Somebody prove me wrong. I'd love to be proven wrong in this situation. I mean, Legolas has got to be one of the coolest characters in the whole Tolkien lore, I'd say. But he's just, in game, just not quite that good. I think when you start playing the game, I need to rant. When you start playing the game, I think you see Legolas's ability to shoot 3 times and to have his 2+ or in the past auto hit. I think on paper, super amazing. But then you don't realize that you need to roll a wound. Auto hitting something is really cool, but once every character is off their mount, less useful. I mean, he does automatically pass in the way checks when he does his 2+ shot. Quite good, but in regards to the Fellowship, when you've got Legolas and Gimli trying to work in harmony with each other, I think, yeah, he can hit. Legolas can always hit, but he can't kill things, and I think that's the issue. I don't know if his ability to hit things always results in kills. Gimli has more might and fate. Somebody just pointed out in the live stream chat. Yes, he does. I don't know. Gloin just 3 attacks, +1 to wound. He's pretty bloody good. But then, okay, let's move on. So obviously the weak link in the Fellowship is the hobbits. So while Frodo's alive, everyone in the Fellowship is fearless. That's awesome. That's super, super baller. But the characters are such high courage anyway, it's not really an issue, I feel. So I think Killy and Philly are better than, hands down, better than Merry and Pippin. Yeah, Bilbo, I don't know if you include him, but he does have the ring, which means basically Thorin or Dwalin is unstoppable. The other question in regards to Thorin's company, which Thorin's company do you take? Do you keep it... I mean, Breaking of the Fellowship's kind of middle of the story, but do you keep it early movie Thorin's company, or do you take the what are they called? The all I can think about is Breaking of the Fellowship right now. What's the bit? Thorin, King Under the Mountain, his list, where all the dwarves are super heavy armored and they have like cooler abilities and they all get Dubekar, which treats Thorin as a banner. Like, Champions of Erebor, thank you Tom Welsh in the live stream chat. My brain doesn't work at the best of times, and when too many things are going on in my brain, I'm trying to paint and trying to talk. It's not a good thing. It's not good for me. But good save, mate. Yeah, Champions of Erebor. They all get Dubekar, which, you know, a lot of them treat Thorin as a banner. Like, we'll have to figure out our criteria, because then obviously the characters are more points, which means you get less of them. I think I'm just going to let Coach go nuts and do a bit of PGing, crunch the numbers, and go from there. Because, oh man, I don't see the Fellowship coming out on top. Sad to say. Do we just play like, what's the scenario where you just fight to the death? To the death, I think it's called, maybe even. Contest of Champions, which means Aragorn and Thorin have to fight. That'd be pretty cool. Or do we put the armies really to the test and make them play an objective game? What do you guys think? Let us know, because we're probably a couple of weeks away from it yet. It might even be next week. We'll see how we go. Why does it sound so dry? Bilbo is listening to the brush. Crap brushes, Bill. That's why it sounds so dry. Quick little cheapest chips trip. Get me a pack of 3 brushes for $2.50. I can't mute it because you got to hear me talking. Otherwise, what's the point of the video? Everyone just see me painting some crappy rocks. That's not very exciting. You have to hear me talk. That's the whole point of the video, right? Aren't you meant to be working, Bill? Oh, I can't film a game. I've just got to sit at work and get paid to watch the YouTube channel. What a jerk. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know what our criteria is going to be for the Fellowship versus Thorin's company, but I think it'll be interesting. Unfortunately, I think the Fellowship are going to have to get really lucky to win that. But we've been thinking a lot about our fantasy fellowship, fighting through the quest for the ring bearer. That'll be interesting as well. Glenn's just said in the live stream chat, I think Legolas 3 shots a turn with reroll to hit is key. Pick off weak dwarves. That's really, really true. But in 600 points, like, do you have weak dwarves? 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're calling your big dwarves 100 points each, you're getting Thorin, Gloin, Dwalin. You're putting Killy Philly. I mean, they're only in defense 5, so 5's to wound. That's kind of rough. And the fact that I know Nathan's going to put in. Who's the guy with the slingshot? The slingshot. Oin. Buffer, Bomber. I don't know. The guy with the slingshot. That's Nathan's absolute favorite model in any army for the Middle Earth strategy battle game. Hands down, he's going in the list. Which means, by the powers of deduction, Nathan probably won't take Champions of Erebor, because I've definitely watched Nathan in a tournament use a slingshot to kill a fell beast over 2 turns by rolling 3 6s to hit, because the slingshot. Ori, thank you, Glenn. Ori, if he rolls a 6 to hit, not a natural 6, but a 6, it automatically wounds, it automatically passes in the way checks. I mean, he might have even killed a ring wraith by rolling 2 6s and making the guy fail his fate. But yeah, I know that's one of Nathan's favourite little jerk pranks to do. So that'll definitely be coming the way. So really, yeah, I don't know. We'll find out. I have been playing the Fellowship a bit like a spud. Definitely haven't used them to the best of their ability. I've had to have some friendly reminders on the stream chat about special rules that I've forgotten. There's a lot going up on this big old noggin, but look, I'm not the rules guy. I'm the hobby guy. Maybe I should have got Nathan to play the Breaking of the Fellowship. He remembers things. His super, like, nerd ability to just remember everything about pop culture. Alright, so I've got 2 trays. You can kind of see, it's a little bit weird. Please don't fall in my lap. The greyness of the rocks. 2 powerful lights. The greyness of the rocks. Obviously in the Discord, I'll post up some photos when I'm done, and you guys will see them on the channel in future weeks when we get our terrain done. Is this dry enough? Not really, so I'm going to have to paper towel it out. I posted in a couple of Facebook groups and stuff asking questions about what kind of terrain people would like to see. My intention with that was to, I think I phrased the question a bit weird, but in my head it made sense. But I wanted to get some ideas of what kind of Shire terrain that people would like to see, that's not like your ordinary stuff, like, you know, rivers and roads and hobbit holes and gardens and all that stuff. So a couple of people had some really cool ideas. Somebody suggested clotheslines. That's something I hadn't thought about, because that'll make some really nice kind of soft cover. Some 5+ in the ways. That's really cool. I did like that idea. But essentially, a lot of people jumped in and commented and said what kind of terrain in general they would like to see. One person said everyone does kind of Mordor and Gondor and everyone does Gondor and Rohan and, you know, the Shire, which is true. Hey, guess what I'm doing? But he said, what about doing some Plains of Gorgoroth terrain or Angmar terrain, or I think they're the 2 specifically that he mentioned. But I do have plans to do some Fall of the Necromancer terrain. Obviously, when Steve and I get back together and hang out and play some games, we're still going to do the Hobbit scenarios. It's still going to happen. It's probably just a little bit further off than we would like, but that's all good. It gives me time to prepare stuff. I will be doing my Smaug video where I build green stuff and paint Smaug, leading into the scenarios for the second movie. So that'll be pretty dope. What was I saying? Sidetracked. Evil terrain. So yeah, I do want to do some spooky Angmar. I do want to do some Plains of Gorgoth. I think that would be really, really cool. I haven't used my Sauron and Orcs on the channel yet. That was an army I was going to take to a tournament. Less talk, more terrain. So, how much for the Gandalf book? I actually have 2 of these, Bill. You should know that. Have you? I was going to say, do you have a rule book? Of course you do, Bill. You have you've bought like 10 Pelennor Fields boxes, probably. It's a lot. So essentially, what was I saying? Yeah, my Mordor army. Sorry, not my Mordor, my Barad-dûr army. So this year we were meant to go to a tournament at 5. Bill's bought 5 Pelennor Fields boxes, he said. I thought you bought more than that. Oh well, that's a lot of Rohan. Stevie's good. Stevie is currently in a COVID hotspot. So he's doing as best as he can, I guess. So there's a lot of quarantine, a lot of lockdown action happening. Poor bugger. He probably misses home. Probably misses the fellas. Definitely would miss the fellas. If not, I'll kick his ass. But yeah, so we're going to go to a tournament. The Silmarillion, you've heard Steve and I harp on about the Silmarillion for years, but really, really cool tournament. And this year, to celebrate the 10th anniversary of it, it was going to be a team tournament. So essentially, each faction had, so you had Mordor, the shadow of the Great Eye. So you had Mordor and Gundabad and Barad-dûr in one kind of team together. You had the Free People, so you had the dwarves and the elves and stuff together. You had the Kingdoms of Men, etc., etc. But I was approached by the tournament organisers to be a team captain. So essentially the team captain, it's kind of just a vanity role, but we would kind of not pick all the matchups, but there'd be a couple of times where we'd get to have an impact on the matchups and stuff like that, and it'd just be a bit of fun. Somebody's just calculated how many models Bill's got in his 5 Pelennor Fields boxes. It's a lot. Where are all you ghosts? 100 Army of the Dead, Bill. What happened to them? That's a question for you, mate. Instead of working, tell us what happened. But yeah, so obviously as the leader of Team Mordor, I was going to run Sauron. I felt obligated to. I felt like I had to. In all the practice games I played, he's good fun, but he's not super good, and especially in 650 points, you don't get much else in the Barad-dûr list. It's kind of just, do you do shitloads of orcs, but you don't get that many orcs? Do you run a troll? Do you run a troll chieftain? Yeah, you don't get much. So it would have been a bit of fun, but I painted up my army. I think it's on my Instagram, I think. I have to post some photos in the Discord, but that's definitely an army I'd like to play on the channel. It's not very good, but it's big and scary, and you kind of have to fight. That's gone frothy. You kind of have to fight Sauron, which is what I like. but in all the games I played, I just found that everyone just ignored him, killed all the orcs, or killed him in like a couple turns. I know it sounds absurd, but he can be killed. Josh Hearn, I have a question. Shoot, mate. This is going to be something. Are you ready for Dion to get dunked on again? Roast time. What makes Bill such a better Hobbit gamer? Oh, there we go. He plays Angmar, Hearn. That's what makes him better. He just plays Angmar. I mean, obviously he plays other stuff, but when Bill first started playing, he was kind of like trying to learn the rules, and we're kind of like trying to teach him and stuff. And he's like, "Oh, what army do I play? What does no one kind of really collect?" And I was like, "Here, Bill, here's the perfect army for you. You should play Angmar." And he's like, "Oh, what do they do?" And just the first time he used the shade was just, oh man, that's it. Love at first sight. He's the shortest D6 host. Are you the shortest, Bill? Yeah, you have to be. He is the shortest. So it doesn't make him better for choosing the best army. I mean, Steve thought he was the best because he played Iron Hills pretty much exclusively. So I guess if your army selection makes you a better player, nah, I'm just ragging on you, Bill. I think luck. Bill is quite lucky. He has a good understanding of the rules. I think Nathan's up there with the understanding of the rules and stuff, but Nathan is a little bit more... Nathan is halfway between Bill and I in terms of play style. I will do the fun thing almost always. Nathan will do fun things every now and then, and it will lose him games. Bill is just a solid player, I think. Just gets lucky and, yeah, just rolls alright. So as you can see, I've done all of the first black wash on the rocky terrain. It's starting to, definitely needs a second coat. It might even need a third coat, but it's getting there. So while that's drying, I'm going to be heaps boring and just glue, or do I flock that? Let's flock the stuff. Move that away. Now I can't reach that one at the end. That's good. Good work, Dion. So, jump back to here. So I've got my... Here's one I've prepared earlier. So I was hoping, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So there's a YouTube channel called Geek Gaming Scenics now. And Lachlan from Zorpa Zorp is a stockist for Geek Gaming Scenics. But Geek Gaming Scenics used to be called Luke's APS on YouTube. And I've stolen a lot of my terrain methods from him and from the Terrain Tutor, two awesome YouTube terrain guys. So the actual ground that is around the rocks is actually made using grout. So I've essentially got PVA glue, put that down, and put down tile grout, and then I've sprayed it with watered down PVA glue, and then when that dries it goes rock hard. It's basically cement, so it dries. It's got a really, really fine grain, so it looks pretty realistic. It looks like miniature scale dirt, which is what I'm all about. So where's my empty pot? There we are. So we're just going to get the old PVA glue. Bill's going to be fired up to come back from that roasting. Oh, that's heavy. So, put some PVA glue into my toilet brush holders. So you'll see them in some upcoming videos, but essentially I wanted to make some trees for the channel. And I looked and looked and looked and looked and looked, and I looked at all sorts of different tree armatures and everything just looked a bit crappy. All was like ridiculously expensive. You can buy pre-made trees for like up to $35 each if you want super crazy, good quality ones. So obviously I'm a tired ass and I didn't want to do that, but I went looking for bottle brushes that you like clean bottles and dishes and stuff with, but everywhere was sold out of cheap ones. In the end, I wish I actually kept one of the toilet brushes, but my local reject shop had toilet brushes for $2, and they just unscrewed. Where did I put them? Not near me. And I literally just unscrewed the bristle bit of the toilet brush, stuck that down onto some washers, and that's going to be my tree terrain. I've got to paint that up and flock that and stuff, but it should do a good job. But as a consequence, I had all these toilet brush, the bit that the actual brush sits in, and I was almost going to throw them out, like 40 of them, throw them all out. But in the end, I was like, oh man, they're perfect, like mixing paint water pot things. So let's whack down some PVA glue, and I'm not going to be super neat with this. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. I'm just going to flock. You can see the magic happen. Super enthralling video, but hey, at least it's a video, right? So yeah, I've been dragging my feet a little bit on a couple of projects because I don't really want to paint my Urukai because they're heaps boring. My Urukai Scouts. I have a lot of them. I have like an 800 point army worth, and they're really good, but I've just kind of had no motivation to do it. Bill's working on a couple of secret projects, secret armies, and then I'm going to basically have a couple little bits and pieces, a couple of different armies, but definitely the first one I should get done is my bloody Urukai, because they're amazing and I think I might actually win a game if I use them. Bill's probably laughing because I know he's meant to be working, but he's probably not. He's just watching the stream. But yeah, Urukai Scouts, Strength 4, Movement 8 in the Legendary Legion. Super amazing, big fan. I've been running Urukai Scouts and Mahua for years. I even stopped running them because I got bored of playing them. But super good fun. And hopefully, the Strength 4 Movement 8 combo might give me the old edge and I might be able to win a couple of games. Doing paperwork on my phone, Bill said. Do we believe him? Probably not. Josh just said, guess I'll throw my scouts back in the box. Nah, mate, do it. Build them up, paint them up, because I'll probably only play my Urukai Scouts on the channel. I figured out what kills my armies for me is when I'm working on something, like when I'm working on an army, and then I play it on the channel, I play it in my personal games, I get super burnt out by it really, really quick. So I think my Urukai Scout army might be a channel and tournament army only. But who knows? I don't want to commit to anything. But yeah, I'm not going to play it against my regular gaming group, I think, because I'll get bored of it. That's the thing I do. My ADHD just super means my projects are super short term. Which, yeah, I don't know. I've got to find ways to extend the life of my projects, especially on the channel, because by the time we come around to playing some games on the channel with our armies, we've already played 5 30 or 40 test games. Not that many, I don't play that many games. But we've already played, a couple of dozen games with the army while we're painting it and stuff, because we only play painted armies on the channel. So I think like that's going to be my way I extend the lifespan of my projects, is by only playing stuff on the channel. I've got another project in the works as well. I think I mentioned that Bill and I want to play through the Scouring of the Shire, so I've got some Sharky's Ruffians in the works because Bill's got 1,000,001 hobbits, and I've got to do Sharky's Ruffians, which is cool. I think that will be a fun little side project. They're terrible. Oh my god, are they terrible? But definitely the against the hobbits, they're slightly better. Definitely, I looked at doing an 800 point or 600 point army of them, but oh boy, you just need so many. I don't even know if there's enough heroes to run, so you can run 800 points, or 600 points. I don't think I'd build an 800 point army of them. I mean, they'd probably be hilarious to take to a tournament, because what are they? Apparently, Bill just said we're only waiting on Dion. He's ready. He's done his hobbits. Time to get my butt into gear, I guess. Paint up some ruffians. Contrast paints are definitely going to make that a lot better. A lot easier. I think that's what Bill did with his hobbits, is mostly just put down a contrast base coat and then a couple of highlights, bit of a dry brush here and there. His hobbits look amazing, as always. Bill can really, really, really pump out armies. Maybe for the channel I'll just do all the technical stuff and build armies and let him paint them. What do you reckon, Bill? Sick! Alright, so I'm just putting down my Sharky's Ruffians with Harry Goatleaf a little better. That's true. What does Harry Goatleaf do again? Is he the guy who stops people in their tracks? He spends a will point and yells, "Stop!" I think that could be kind of cool. But, just as an army, I don't have the patience. I played Goblin Town when the Hobbit strategy battle game first came out, the box set with Thorin's Company, because everyone was ogling the Thorin's Company, so I decided to play Goblin Town. Obviously back then I used to care less about theme and care more about winning, so it was a really amazing, I think we've talked about this before, Nathan always brings it up, but I used to run the Goblin King, Grinner, a heap of Goblin Town goblins. Back then, in the previous edition, you could run Moria Shamans, because the Moria Shamans Fury used to affect all goblins, not just Moria goblins. So the Goblin King had his 3+ Blubbery Mass, or whatever his special rule is called, which gives him a 3+ save to avoid wounds, and he'd have Fury on a 5+, and then if he needed to, he could spend his 1 point of fate. Super dumb, super ridiculous. Also, because I'm a jerk and I hate my friends, I used to run a Shade. So back in my day, the Shade used to have to spend will to get the Chilling Aura, the -1 effect on the dual roll. So it used to just happen. So the Goblin King literally was just unbeatable. If the Goblin King rolled a 6, he would just murder 3 warriors a turn. He's burly. He's got a pick so he can piercing strike, which is two-handed. It's just ridiculous. And then because I was a giant douchebag and I only like to PG armies, this was Coach's idea, by the way, I would put in the Dwimmerlake, because the Dwimmerlake used to automatically... I did go 0-5 at a tournament with it though. Thanks for reminding me, Hearn. That was good. But super douchey. The Dwimmerlake, if a hero spent a point of Might, Will, or Fate within 12 inches of the Dwimmerlake, he had to spend another one on a 4+. Which meant, I think it's still similar, but now you've got to spend a point of Will. He's a lot less useful now, but he was oh man, so amazing. Literal, just the worst thing you could ever face on a battlefield. So yeah, I did go 0-5 at the tournament. No, I think I won one game. I did win one game, and that was against Nathan, where I killed Azog and Bolg in a turn because Azog rolled like an actual potato and had to spend all of his points of might. Didn't win the roll off, and then the Goblin King basically killed the White Warg, and then he was out of might. So that was good. But because I'd played it so much, everyone had, once again, because I played my army that I wanted to take to a tournament so much, everyone had figured out how to beat it. Which was just kill the Shade, sap will the Shamans, ignore the Goblin King, and murder all my Defense 3 Goblins. So good times. But that's me. That's what happens, isn't it? So Harry Goatleaf has the Shall Not Pass ability for 3 turns. That's really good. Yeah, that's really, really good. Especially with if you couple that with Sharky being able to immobilize. So I whacked down my PVA glue. My beard's in the way. I did set up this so I was out the way. But PVA glue down on all the bases. So now what I'm going to do is move all my stuff out of the way. And I've got a selection of foam flock. So if you've never used foam flock before, it's basically just like blitzed up foam. Static grass looks a bit... It looks really cool, but it doesn't survive really well on terrain. Foam flock goes rock hard because the PVA glue soaks into it. It's basically just coloured foam. You can get it from independent hobby stores, more like your model train stores. They're the ones who generally have it. So essentially, I'm not doing anything original. I've just got a couple of different browns. What do we got? Browns. A couple of different greens that I'm just gonna scatter around. So I'm gonna pick a mid-tone, couple of mid-tones, and essentially all I do is just sprinkle it around. Super simple, nothing to it. Bill was messaging me before he went to work because he was doing some terrain and stuff, and he's like asking me questions, and I was like, oh man, should just wait for the stream. If I'd have known he's going to be watching the stream from work, it would have been even better. But yeah, so just sprinkling this around, and essentially you don't have to do any work at all. It's so easy. But I know there's some super lazy people out there, or people who don't have the time or space or ability to make terrain. I think at some point in the future, Bill and I are gonna either sell off some D6 fixed terrain, or potentially even make tables of terrain that we will sell for people if they super want it. So if you always wanted some cool Middle-earth terrain but never had the abilities, send us an email, thed6fix@gmail.com, and then we can start a conversation. I love building terrain. The problem is storing it, because I build terrain faster than I actually need it or use it. So yeah, hit us up, let us know. I like doing random hobby projects that isn't painting Uruk-hai, so big fan. So essentially this foam flock, when it's got the PVA glue and stuff in it, comes up, kind of looks like grass. You can put static grass and stuff on top. I won't be, because that's extra work. It does look better, but I feel that the foam flock does a decent job, and the miniatures don't crush the foam flock when they're the miniatures don't crush the foam flock like they do the static grass. So static grass over time wears away and falls off. This does too, everything does, but I think, yeah, static grass just looks a little bit it just ends up over time looking a bit trashy. So, oh boy, making a mess. Hopefully I've got some fine stuff here. Nope, there we go. Yeah, there we go, look at that. Killer! I love it. So I'll do this in a couple of batches. Obviously, I was hoping to do more of the terrain, but the black's still not drying. But that's all good. Do you guys just like hearing me just talk crap and ramble on and go on tangents? Because there's actually like people watching the stream, and I don't know why. It's nothing. Well, I mean, it's just me being me. I guess I'm pretty awesome. Just ask me, I'll tell you. Ooh, that was me. We've got new people joining the Discord. I just got a notification, so welcome aboard, peeps. Should go on a tangent about castle walls. You're just triggering me tonight, aren't you, Hearn? Crikey. Oh boy. So yeah, I did say in the description and stuff that I was going to talk about our philosophy, and all I've done is ramble about the Fellowship and Thorns Company, our philosophy of terrain. So one of the most important things when you're designing terrain and stuff is to make it functional. So huge giant centerpiece terrain pieces looks amazing, and that kind of draws people's eyes, but it's not really functional. Excuse my giant head. It's just not really functional, and when you are playing games, all those cool giant pieces of terrain, you actually end up not using them. You end up playing around them, and I don't want to spend like all this time and energy and effort on terrain that's just going to be ignored. So when you're building your terrain, I literally had a Minas Tirith warrior that I didn't need. I think he was missing like a shield or something. I literally had a Minas Tirith warrior that I was just making sure could fit through the gaps, keeping the base size in kind of like in the forefront of your mind when you're actually building your terrain. And I think, I mean, if people want, I can make more terrain videos, because I've got a couple of ideas coming up. But if people want, I can do more terrain videos. This is kind of just a fill-in because everyone bailed on me tonight. That's okay, I love you guys. But yeah, everyone kind of had other things, more important things they needed to do. But I still wanted to have some content for you guys. And if this, like, I mean, there's 9 people watching me build terrain or listening to me build terrain, which is good. It means, hopefully, if people will love it, I'll do more. But I definitely want to do some Mount Gundabad terrain. And you'll see when I do that what I mean about functional. Because some of that terrain, like you watch those scenes from the Fall of the Necromancer, some of those scenes are quite, the terrain is quite, I don't know, what am I doing? I'm rambling. Not super functional, and that's a bad thing. So I've just brushed off all the rocky bits. Now it's time to get my PVA glue. I'm just here for the beard cam. Whoa, look at that, look at that. Maybe I'll shave it off for charity one day. I just heard Nicole's heartbreak coming from the other end of the house. She wouldn't let me do that. Maybe for charity, we'll see. So I'm basically just mixing up a little bit of PVA glue and water. And then I'm going to do my ISO, shave it off and make D6 beard flock. Imagine basing your army with your beard hair. Oh man, that's like, you know, they call super crazy gamers like beardy gamers back in the day. I think now they're called cheesy, or we say PG. But back in the day, they were called beardy gamers. Imagine having your beardy army with your own actual beard. Your actual beard hairs. Oh man, I could think of... Yeah, that's pretty creepy. Anyway, rambling again. That's what I do, isn't it? So now I've also got some water. And this stuff. Isopropyl alcohol. So this is essentially like 99% alcohol. 100% isopropanol. This has gone up, because of COVID, $8 a bottle. This used to be $19.20 from Bunnings. But now this cost me $28.50. I had a thing, but I left it somewhere, and then had to do a quick little Bunnings trip just before filming. So I got back just in time. But essentially, this is... Where's my other little tray? Oh, there. I've got my mix of... It's about 50-50 alcohol and water. 1 part PVA glue, 4 parts water-ish. But I've just realised I need to get rid of all this flock. Otherwise, I'm going to have a giant mess. Oh boy, what have I done? You are hopeless, Dion. Very, very hopeless. So, I'm just moving all the stuff off. The excess is going to, if I don't get rid of it now, it's just going to stick everywhere. Oh boy. So yeah, functional terrain. Terrain often is like the unsung hero of the game, and like, I love terrain. I think it serves a big purpose. I've been saying kind of like my motto for a long time has always been terrain is the third player of the game. Because really, the terrain that you play on, the scenery should impact the way you play the game. So, you know, you should have, oh, my dogs are going crazy. You should have, you know, places to defend and difficult terrain. And terrain shouldn't be stuff you just avoid. You shouldn't just play, if you want to do that, just play on the ground. Just play on a table. You don't need terrain if you're going to do that. I think terrain is definitely like a super crucial part of the game. I mean, there's as many pages for rules for terrain as there is for cavalry and for heroes and stuff. So it's obviously an important part of the game. So if you are making terrain, if you are buying terrain, if you are even just setting up terrain to play a game, stop and think about how it's going to impact the game. It should really complement the game. It should make the game tactically interesting. It should, boy, this is exciting, isn't it? Good. This is good TV. It should make the game challenging and interesting. I've seen a lot of people in all the different miniature war games and stuff I've played over the years. I've seen a lot of people just literally just remove terrain off the board, you know, move it out the way. That kills me. Terrain is such an awesome part of the game. It immerses you in the setting. And I think people don't really think about that as much when they're building it. In the live chat, Josh mentioned castle walls. So that basically, man, what a throwback. I was playing a game of Warhammer 40,000 against somebody, and I let the guy set up the terrain. I was like, yeah man, do whatever. Set up the terrain how you want. Doesn't bother me. And then there was an old Warhammer castle, and he literally just plonked that down. A single wall, literally a single wall section in the middle of the board. In his deployment zone, so he could deploy his devastated marines up on top and stuff. And I was like, dude, what the hell? Like, how did that castle wall get there? And he's like, you said do whatever I want, so I did. Super just disappointing. Not cool at all. Alright, so I've got my foam flock down. So what I'm going to do now, I've got my little syringes. I went to my chemist. These cost me like 50 cents each. And I've basically just dripping in my isopropyl alcohol and water. So basically what this is going to do, nothing revolutionary. This is what model railroad makers have been doing for years. So you basically just put down your ISO and your water. It soaks into all the foam flock. Get my beard out of the way. It soaks into the foam flock. Your terrain needs to tell a story, otherwise why are your miniature men fighting there? Exactly, Khaki Duck, exactly. I agree. I always try to make kind of themed terrain. I try to have it tell a story, you know. It's even cooler when your objectives are themed to your armies and stuff as well, and you know, it's all about enhancement, it's all about immersion. And Middle-earth, other games are as well, but Middle-earth more so I'd say than any other game I've ever played is all about the story. I mean, the reason we're bloody playing this game is because when we're all 12-year-old kids, or even younger or older, whatever, somebody read us The Hobbit, or we read The Hobbit, or you know, your librarian at your high school said, hey, you should read The Lord of the Rings because it's a big thick book and you've read all the other books in the library because you live in a small country town. That happened to me. Here, read The Lord of the Rings. And you know, or we saw the movies and it's just super inspired us. I mean, there's probably people out there who aren't fans of the lore that play the game, but I mean, I guess really the lore is the most, in my opinion anyway, and my opinion right now is all that matters. Really, that's the most crucial part. The lore is the reason why we play. You know, the lore is the reason why we argue, is Aragorn better than Boromir? Is Thorin's company better than the Fellowship? It's all got to do with the lore. So I've put down my ISO and water. I've kind of just soaked through all the PVA. It really, really stinks. I almost was out of ISO, and I had to go to Bunnings to get some. I saw that we had a bottle of Bacardi. I was almost going to use that because it's alcohol. Basically, the alcohol evaporates out and sucks in the PVA glue. That's why we're doing this. I was almost going to use Bacardi, but I was like, no, Nicole will kill me if I do that. So, Boz has always been better than Aragorn. Look, you're wrong. Faramir is the best. Odoya rules. Gatorade is better. But I think, really, your terrain, you're right. Whoever said that, Khaki Duck, your terrain should tell a story. So now what I'm doing is I've got a syringe of PVA glue watered down, and I'm basically just squirting this everywhere. I'm going to leave this overnight. Them fighting words. Bill, you're absolutely right. Faramir is the best. Faramir is one of the most important characters in Lord of the Rings. He literally had the One Ring in his hand, in his possession. He knows his father would kill for it, and did kill for it, basically. Tried to kill Faramir, in fact. But, like, he had it and gave it back to Frodo. How amazing. What a rad dude. And played by David Wenham. Super rad Aussie bloke. But yeah, so anyway, what was I saying? Tangents, my favourite. All about them tangents. So essentially I'm just soaking this foam flock now with watered down PVA glue. Overnight this is going to stink and evaporate. All the alcohol is going to evaporate out. It's going to suck the PVA glue into the foam flock, and then as it dries, it's going to leave the foam flock looking fluffy, but also, oh, we're out. Let's see a little bit of that in there. We're gonna just let it evaporate, let it do its thing. This is gonna dry. Oh, let's get rid of that. We're going to come back tomorrow. It's going to be all killer. And then I have some Woodland Scenics. What are these called? Clump foliage. So I'm going to, oh, that's already spilling out, you idiot. Going to put down some little bushes and shrubberies, and I've got some grass tufts and stuff like that. Look, if you guys request it, I'll do a second part video where I finish off the terrain. Maybe even, I mean, in reality, I probably should do a proper terrain video. Maybe, I don't know. Do people watch this? We've got people watching, so I don't know. Alright, well, I guess that's me done for tonight, because my bloody paint's still trying to dry. This is it. Looks pretty cool. I'm a big fan. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully next week we're back to some games. If Bill's not working night shift and Coach gets his act together and stuff. Otherwise, it might be another video like this. Maybe I'll paint my Urukai Scouts. Who knows? Thank you all for watching. Shuckers, brah, because that's the D6 Fix thing.